What's going on, everybody? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA. You are listening to Wednesday's edition of Evil Intoxicated, episode number 9, right, Ted?
I believe it is number 9.
And
yes,
of course, it was a crazy week. Ted just got back from vacation, man. How was it?
Oh, it was excellent, man. I went up kind of near, well, I drove through your home state of Connecticut on my way to Rhode Island, where my family's originally from, and hung out there, went to Fenway Park. Unfortunately, saw Boston lose to New York. Saw A-Rod for like 1 second before he jumped into the dugout. And I went to the beach for a day. Got all this junk all over me. It's like this stuff called red tide. It's like a seaweed that like blankets the water in Newport. And if you look at it closely, it's like all clumpy stuff gets in all your cracks and crevices. And if you look at it really closely, you can see like little creatures in it, like little plankton and stuff. It's insane, man. But good waves though, good waves.
Well, what is it exactly? Is it seaweed or?
Yeah, it's like a mossy seaweed. They call it red tide. It's vegetation or whatever. So it's got like living creatures in it. These tiny little like sea bugs. Like I don't know whether they're krill or plankton. It's really nasty stuff. So yeah, you gotta like hose yourself down, then go take a shower. Like take 2 or 3 showers afterwards, man.
Yeah, it's
insane.
It's crazy over here on the East Coast because, like, here at the Long Island Sound, the water kind of gets trapped almost, like, in between, like, Long Island and everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to Martha's Vineyard. I'll be in Martha's Vineyard for UFC 202. So if you guys don't know where that is, that's where they actually filmed the movie Jaws, the original Jaws.
Well, Eddie, I hope you don't get any red tide there, man. I really hope you don't. But I got to say, we're talking about UFC 202. You did a great video that everybody should check out. And where you hit the streets, you did the man on the street thing. You hit the streets of the city. It's New Haven,
New Haven, Connecticut.
New Haven, Connecticut. See the good people of New Haven, Connecticut, and you're asking them, "Hey, are you on Team Diaz or Team McGregor?" I thought it was a fantastic video, Eddie. That you did.
I met so many amazing characters on the street, and of course, like New Haven's a melting pot. I was saying this before on my Periscope. Like, there's so many different kinds of people, and we all get along so well with one another here in New Haven.
That's awesome.
But it's
America.
America, the Olympics, America. I mean, what a better time. But yeah, I took to the streets of New Haven, and if you guys don't know where New Haven is, I'm sure you know where Yale University. Or have heard of it. Yale University. I mean, all of our presidents were there. Oh. Skull and Bones, Secret Society. That's the area I was in. I like to call it Hogwarts, man, because it literally looks like a 500-year-old castle.
Oh, that's crazy, man. That's awesome. Everybody loves that wizard stuff,
Well, yeah, my generation's a little bit about it. My sister's generation's vampires. I'm the magic and whatever. But anyways. Yeah, man, UFC 202 is coming up, and I am so excited. Of course, they had that press conference before. We're going to get into that. We have a great show set up for everybody today. Make sure you guys talk to us in the chat room. There's an open chat going on. Follow me and Ted on Twitter at evil_echo. I am EVIL _ECCO, and you can find Ted at TEDCZECH. And we're always getting back to everybody. Ted, of course, makes all of his videos on YouTube. That's where you guys know him from. And, of course, we got together every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. And I'm happy that you're back, man. We missed you last week, Ted.
Hey, come on now. No, I heard you had a great show, flying solo, Eddie. So you don't need me.
Oh, come on. It makes all the fun in it because it's like, I got you, the chat room, and we're just all, You get stuck in your head too much and get tired talking to yourself on your own show,
I hear you, man. No, it's great to have a co-host as well. I mean, I do my solo thing. You do yours. We get together once a week. We do this thing. We team up. So, it's awesome.
All right, so we're going to start today's show off like we usually do, everybody, with the five-minute rounds. Ted, since we have a change-up because of today's UFC 202 presser, you want to start us off?
Yeah, Eddie, we at the last minute we were doing our show prep, and just to let everybody know, kind of behind the scenes, we go over things. We do a lot of research to make this show happen every week. So I was like, oh my God, we had this. You asked me, did you see this presser? Of course I did, and so I'm like, we got to put this at the top of the bill. It's got to be number one for the five-minute rounds. We'll take something else out and we'll put this at the top because this is the crazy thing that everybody's talking about. For those who don't know, UFC 202, UFC had a presser today, a press conference. I think with probably the top 3 or top 6 fighters. So of course Conor was there, Nate Diaz was there, Rumble was there, Teixeira was there, and I forget who else. It kind of doesn't matter because
I think that was it though.
It was the Conor show. And you said, Eddie, that he walked in late. I didn't realize that watching the footage that I saw. But, I mean, and I'm not saying it's right, but that's Conor. I mean, if he wants to continue to do what he's done, that's what he does. He's late. You know, and I think my theory is it just puts everybody on edge. You know, it pisses people off. You know, Nate, I'm sure, doesn't like to wait around. You know, he's not exactly the most comfortable in those situations. So he was probably already pissed off. And then it erupted from there into a bottle-throwing melee, I guess you could call it, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It looked like Nate was, you know, pissed off walking out, and he was walking out like this, and he was talking shit to Conor, and Conor was like, "You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing." And then, of course, they started. It looked like Nate started throwing stuff, and Nick, and of course, like you were just saying, Ted, like they're not really big, like the Diaz brothers, on doing press and, you know, talking with these comebacks and stuff. But man, you can tell that Conor and Nate are gonna go at it come Saturday.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you know, of course we have the tinfoil hat brigade that are saying that this whole thing was a work, you know, that it was scripted. I don't know. I mean, these two guys, you know, well, you had Dana White pleading with Conor not to pick up the bottles, you know, because he's thinking litigation. Yeah. He's thinking somebody's going to catch one upside the head and the UFC is going to get slapped with a lawsuit. So he's like, Conor, no. Conor paid him no mind, just woof. You know?
Dana was like, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah. And did you see people were making fun of Jake Shields? You know, he's part of the 209 crew. He's part of the Diaz brothers. But he picked up a bottle and he was like, eh. He kind of threw it like a girl. I was like, man, I've seen better T-ball players throw. I've seen T-ball players throw better than that, you know? Man, but yeah, so it would seem like Nate threw one. And then he was met with a barrage. Like, I don't know who it was, but it was like, do. Back out. You know? He got nailed, you know? So it was insane.
Minion's saying that Nate threw the first one at the SPG team that were in the audience.
All right, so SPG just went, just nailed him. They, you know?
And I want to say hi to everyone that's in the chat room. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we got Minion. We got Jody. We got Ted. Ted's in the chat room. I'm in the chat room.
I'm in there. I'm talking it up.
So we're going to have a great time tonight. I mean, UFC 202, I'm getting pumped up already just from this presser, Ted.
I really don't care whether it was planned or not. Scripted, whatever. It just got me so pumped. I'm like, oh, my God. I just can't wait. Can the week be over, please?
And guys, of course, me and Ted are going to be reviewing the fight card come towards the end of the show. So definitely stay tuned for that. We have so many fun segments set up. A little quick preview. We're going to talk about the Professional Fighters Association. We're going to talk the new fight announcements this week. And we came up with a pretty fun segment called Best and Worst MMA Nicknames that are out there. So definitely try to think of some nicknames that you guys like or dislike for later in the show for that segment. So, Ted, you want to get right into the 5-minute rounds, or did you want to touch up on anything else before we do that?
Well, the presser was that was number one. We can kind of say okay. Yeah. So the presser was. I mean, was there anything more that you want to say about that, Eddie? I think we kind of covered it. I mean, the next. Are they going to do open workouts? I don't know.
They usually do. They will. It's Conor. And Nate, so they will.
So I wonder if there's going to be any confrontation there. You know, are they going to schedule it so that, you know, one follows the other, so that there could be another confrontation? I mean, the Diaz brothers feed off that stuff too. I mean, you remember who was it? Was it Nate who took on Michael Johnson?
Yep.
Remember that confrontation, and it was in a hotel lobby or something like that. So they just feed off.
Head.
Yeah. But yeah, just so maybe we'll have something like that happen, and then of course the weigh-ins, and meanwhile all along we've got those video segments that the UFC does, the embedded.
Yes, those are up now too, and the Bad Blood UFC Countdown show is up as well.
Yep. So man, I just can't wait.
Oh man, I can't either. And of course, guys, Friday is going to be the day of the weigh-in, so you have one to check that out. I think it's going to be on FS1, but since it's MMA and it's worldwide, just watch it on YouTube because that's the easiest place you're going to be able to find it. Really, that's
Right.
what I recommend. So coming into round number 2, Ted, what I have written down, man, is Professional Fighters Association that was brought up this week and pretty much established. What's your take on this, Ted?
I'm all for it. I did a video on my YouTube channel. I fully support it. It sounds like there's been a lot of talk over the years, for various organizations, guys having ideas and people saying we should get a union. But this to me is the best example, or this is the most concerted effort. This is the one that's got the weight behind it. So they've got a website. They've got some heavy hitters that are involved. So to me, this is the best chance of it happening. It seems to this point.
Well, they have a couple of big names behind them, like you just mentioned. Of course, one being Leslie Smith, who just mentioned that she has a tumor on her stomach that she UFC will not remove. What's the most recent update on that?
The last I knew, they were going to. She had a cryptic tweet where she said they have agreed. It was something like they've agreed to help her.
They
in
reached
some
out,
way.
right?
They reached out and they said, "We'll help you investigate it or get it examined." I guess is I think, if I remember correctly, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but I mean it's a good start. But if there was a union in place, these guys, the fighters, would have health care, and so that would be taken care of with the health care. She wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So there's a need for it, because I think some people know and others may not that these guys, fighters, are contractors. They are not considered employees of the UFC. If they were employees, they'd have health care. They'd have other benefits. But they don't get any of that stuff.
Well, Ted, the numbers just don't add up, and Randy Couture even said it. Ken Shamrock, of course, being a part of it. Who else is a part of that? Kong Lee. And you know what? They just sold the UFC for $4 billion. The numbers just don't add up.
Right, and the other statistic that's stuck in my head was the UFC fighters receive 14 to 15% of the total revenue that the company makes. Now contrast that with athletes from other major sports like the NFL, the NHL, and Major League Baseball, etc., who make 40% or more of revenue from that those sports generate. So something's not right. You know what I'm saying? This needs to be made right.
And you know what, Ted? It's just been proven with that sale that this is now the number one popular sport. In my eyes, when you sell a business for $4 billion and it's the most biggest sports franchise that has ever been sold, those numbers just don't add up. You need to take care of those fighters who made that and helped establish that.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree. And the other thing I was thinking about with this, the new owners, it's WMG IMG, I think, or something similar. WME IMG. You know what? Can they please just change their name because it's too hard to remember? Oh my God! But anyway, these guys, that company has represented actors, and probably does to this day. So they're used to working with the Screen Actors Guild, which is a union. It's the union that all actors and actresses have to belong to. So,
or as South Park would call it, the Film Actors Guild, the FAG.
Oh man, that's great. I didn't see that episode, but that's awesome.
Team America, Ted. Remember I was telling you Team America?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So so my hope is that they're used to this type of thing. They're used to dealing with unions. Hopefully they'll have a more open mind than the Fertittas and Dana White did. The Fertittas and Dana White were against unions, basically. They had a long-standing feud with the culinary union, They don't like unions. And I mean, there's good and bad in every union, but hopefully, I see the benefits for fighters in forming a union, and hopefully WME IMG will be open to it. That's my hope.
And you know what? Everyone is waiting for them to, kind of make their statement on this. This is the perfect time, and like we like to call it, the post-Zuffa era.
Right, exactly. Oh, I was just noticing Jody saying they don't have retirement either, and I think she's right. I mean, there would be another benefit that you would hope they would get, a 401k, or maybe some type of profit sharing, where they could get shares of the company or something, at least a 401k at the very least.
At least. And the way I look at it, man, like, these people work their whole lives to get to the UFC, and they finally make it there. And whether they're successful or not, once they make it there, they should have some sort of benefits. There was a lot of money spent to get to that point. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. The UFC is like making it to the MLB or the NFL, and those players are all taken care of.
Yep, and you mentioned the NFL and MLB and other major sports. Those players' associations are in support of this. They support the PFA, so that's very important too. And Jeff Boris is one of the guys that's spearheading it. He's a baseball agent, so a guy that's been around the block and knows how to represent athletes. Lucas Middlebrook, who's a labor attorney, that's always good to have. What are the three things in life? Lawyers, guns, and money, right? And then Andrew Zimbalist is an economist. I mean, you got to have somebody that knows about the economy and money and et cetera. So it sounds like they've got a great crew together. And then, like you said, Kung Lee, I'm sure Mark Hunt is all over this thing. Even Conor McGregor, a guy who, what was it, like a year ago, was like, I don't want to bother with that. Now he's like, hey, you know what? I got myself to worry about right now, but I would put my weight behind this thing. I will at some point.
And that is huge. For people to be like, you know what, they are serious. And Ted, I just want to say really quick, we now have 10 people watching us right now. So I just want to thank everyone. You're watching Evil and Intoxicated. We do this every Wednesday. I'm Evil Eddie. That's Ted Czech. We are in the middle of the 5-minute rounds, and we're currently talking about the Professional Fighters Association.
Yeah. Yep. One last thing I wanted to say, Eddie, and you can have the final remark if you want, but hopefully they can kind of tie this together with the Ali Act. This is of course named after Muhammad Ali. That was I believe made into law in 2000, where it protects boxers from exploitation and conflicts of interest. And I think MMA fighters should be brought under that as well. So maybe this PFA will lead the charge in getting MMA fighters under the Ali Act.
That would be awesome. That would definitely be awesome. I actually don't have anything else to say on this subject, but that's very important that you do mention that, the Ali Act, that is one of the biggest things behind this. And of course, you just addressed that. So going on to round number 2, Ted, what do we got listed?
Number 3.
Round number 3.
That's all right, man. It's all right. New fights signed. There's been a crap ton of new fights that have been signed recently, either signed or seriously talked about. We'll kind of straddle the line between fights that have been signed, and then some that are rumors, but more than likely will happen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I had BJ Penn versus Ricardo Lamas,
which is a great fight. I'm very excited about this, but I mentioned this before. I really enjoyed them having that original fight with Dennis Seaver versus BJ Penn. I thought that was the perfect matchup for BJ to come back and build himself back up. What's your take on this, Ted?
I agree with you, Eddie. I think I would have rather seen that one, because Ricardo Lamas he's
one of the top contenders.
Oh, yeah, he's a buzzsaw. So, you know what I mean? This is going to be a tough one. They say, there's that saying, there's no easy fights in the UFC. This proves it right here. In boxing, you hear about that phrase all the time, that, give him a tune-up fight. It would have been nice just for BJ Penn, since he has been out of the game for, 2-3 years and lost his last 3.
Well, he hasn't won since 2010, and he's been out. His last fight was against Frankie Edgar, and that was just bad. That was at 145. And
Yeah.
that's what he's going to be fighting at, right? 145.
Yeah, that's another weird thing, but hopefully he's got that under control. I mean, he's with the Greg Jackson, Winklejohn camp,
And we trust them.
Well, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're smart. They're smart. I mean, absolutely. It's one of the best camps in the world. And I guess, he's still on the outs with, he's got a new nutritionist, I would imagine, because he blamed his old nutritionist on the disaster that was his last fight. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised he didn't go to 155. Yeah, right. I mean, there was enough blame to go around there. Yeah, whoever his stand-up coach was needed to get the axe too. Yeah. But I'm kind of surprised he didn't go to lightweight. How about you?
I mean, 145 is a very tough division, and a lot of people have been telling him, like, why would you want to go into that division? It's already backed up. You got Conor McGregor, the entire featherweight division's on hold. You didn't look good in your last fight at 145. You should probably consider, really reconsidering this. And I do trust them down there in New Mexico to make the right decision, and he made it very clear, as in BJ Penn, saying that if Winkle tells him, I really do not think that you should be doing this, he will not do it then, So I do acknowledge that because he is aware of that. But he's got that itch, Ted, and we see this with a lot of fighters who walk away.
Right, and sometimes they need to, in order to get that fire back again, like we're seeing. Well, I was going to say we're seeing it with GSP. You talk to Dana White, and he doesn't think GSP is ever going to return, but he has entered the USADA. He has, I guess, officially registered with USADA, so that's a step in the right direction. But yeah, fighters sometimes take some time off, and then they haven't scratched the itch sufficiently, so they come back. And
what's going on, everybody? I had a little malfunction. I'm going to get Ted back on the line. I do not know why it did that. Sorry if you got disconnected from the show. We're going to begin in 1 second. That's one of the beautiful things about live streaming, though, is that things like this, you do not know what's going to happen next. There we go. Let's give Ted a call really quick. I'm sure he's having a heart attack right about now. Let's pull Ted right back up onto the show. Ted! Hey! I don't know what happened, man, but that's one of the beautiful things about going live, man.
That's right. You just never know.
So I'm going to make a quick post if you just want to recap where we were and recatch everyone up, because I don't know if everyone's back in the chat room just yet.
Well, we're live right now, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right. Let's see. So we're all right. I'll do that. You go ahead and chat them up, and I'll send a little message here.
All right, guys. So right now we are in the middle of our 5-minute rounds. If you're just tuning in, we had a little malfunction, but that's all right. The show will go on. Thank you for joining us. We do the show every Wednesday. Pure Evil MMA meets up with Ted Czech to make Evil and Intoxicated live on YouTube. And we're going to be covering MMA. Of course, we covered UFC 202 press conference this afternoon that just took place. Conor McGregor throwing water bottles everywhere. You guys can follow me on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Ted is getting everything back up and running. We are now in the middle of our 5-minute rounds. Ted, and I think where we left off, man, we were talking about the new fight announcements, and we were talking about BJ Penn.
Right. Let's move forward. That's going to be in October 15th, UFC Fight Night 97. Next, Bigfoot Silva versus Roy Nelson at UFC Fight Night 95 in September. So yeah, big heavyweight fight.
And this is a big fight for Bigfoot to have to come back, and it's a tough one because Roy's got that legendary chin. If Derek Lewis can't knock him out, I don't know if you tell how Bigfoot is, but he's got a chance. But you know what? If Bigfoot loses again, I think he might get the boot, Ted.
Yeah, I mean, where is he at right now? Is he? Refresh my memory. Is he at a couple losses?
Remember he fought Mark Hunt and they lost. Right. That was the rematch, the part 2 of their fight. He lost like his last 3 fights, man. So he's not
Whoa.
doing too good. I'm pretty positive. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I know he's like, he's lost 3 of his last 5.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, but this is going to be one of these fights. I think it's not going to get past the first round. It's going to be as Jim Ross would say, it's going to be a slobber knocker. Yeah. By God. You know what I mean? It's not going to make it past the first round. They're just going to go toe to toe, and you know, it'll end quick. You know, with heavyweights, we see that a lot. But I don't know. I mean, I think I think Roy's chin is going to hold up, and I see him getting a knockout on Bigfoot, actually.
Oh man, you know, and I love getting behind Bigfoot. He's got a disorder, right, Ted? He's got giantitis or something like that.
Yeah, I think they call it acromegaly.
What is it? Say that one more time.
I believe it's pronounced acromegaly, but I think you could also call it gigantism, where he has an elongated face, and you know, a number of other people, kind of famous people, have had it. There's a guy in Japan, a famous pro wrestler, Shohei Giant Baba. He had it. I believe Andre the Giant may have had it.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So it's really the large, elongated face. That's kind of the most prominent characteristic.
Dude, Andre the Giant is badass. I used to love watching all of his stuff, and of course that movie that he was in. And I watched this documentary not too long ago. Man, he's got one hell of a story, dude. You
remember in the old WWF, he used to take on like 2 or 3 guys at the same time in the ring.
Until Hulk Hogan put a stop to him. Remember, Hulk Hogan picked him up and just body slammed him. Oh my God.
Yep. Next we have Tim Kennedy versus Rashad Evans. I don't know. You're excited for that.
I am,
me too.
Because Rashad, I've been waiting for Tim Kennedy to come back. Rashad Evans, you know, he just got knocked out by Glover, right? Glover just fought him and knocked him out. I've always been a fan of Rashad, so I think this is just going to be a fun fight.
Yeah, and this will be Evans's first fight at middleweight.
Oh, really?
Yep, and then Tim Kennedy coming off of a 2-year layoff. You know, that last one was the whole stool gate. Remember with Yoel Romero?
Yep.
That whole mess. But yeah, since that time, I mean, he's been trying to get fights, but I think because of his schedule,
he's fighting
was kind
ISIS
of a last
or something. Isn't he like fighting ISIS or?
He threatened. They threatened him. He said, you know, bring it. I mean,
he's a badass, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, Green Beret, you know, Army Ranger, but he has a company where he trains people like just regular old folks, you know, on how to use guns in tactical situations.
Like end of the world, like preparation, like doomsday prepper.
Being prepared. I think it's called sheepdog.
Or they call it like doomsday prepping. What do you call it? Sheepdogging?
Sheepdog something. That's the name of his company. And then he also is filming the 2nd season of Hunting Hitler, which is a History Channel. I think it's a History Channel show.
Is that because they think that Hitler got away and came to like went to Cambodia or somewhere crazy? They're trying to hunt him because
Brazil,
those bones.
A lot of Germans settled in Brazil after World War II.
Yeah, and those bones, they did those DNA tests on it, and it came back it wasn't Hitler.
Oh, okay. But there were a lot of other Nazis and other Germans that fled from Germany to Brazil after World War II. So I think that's where he's filming the 2nd season, is what I read. So he's been busy. So Tim Kennedy, he would just he'd be like, I want to fight, you know, this guy or that guy, but it would be like last minute stuff.
Yeah, it's always last minute and on Periscope.
Said Show MMA is correcting me. He's saying no, it was Argentina, not Brazil.
Isn't that what I said? Didn't I say Argentina?
I don't know. Did you?
Where did you say? Brazil?
I said Brazil.
Our bad, guys. This isn't a History Channel. This is an MMA channel.
Yeah. I remember this old movie with. I'll say one more thing about it quickly. Charles Bronson in The Evil That Men Do.
Charles Bronson,
where he was hunting down Dr. Mengele, And I always thought that was in Brazil, but maybe it was in Argentina. I don't know. That's said show MMA is telling me it's Argentina, so we'll go with that.
Of course, shout out to said show. Check his channel out as well. He gets like 50,000 views on some of his videos, and he's going to be uploading one of my videos as well, Ted.
Nice, good for you.
Yeah, and if you guys tuned into this late, the first half of the show we reviewed the UFC 202 presser. Ted told everybody about. I went out to the city of New Haven to talk about Team McGregor or Team Diaz, and I came up on some characters. Definitely, you guys can find that on my channel down below. We're in the middle of our 5-minute rounds. Ted, I think we have 2 more written down. I have John Dodson versus Lineker and Vitor Belfort versus Gegard Mousasi coming up.
Yeah, I mean, wow, Lineker versus Dodson. Looking forward to that. I haven't been, excited about a flyweight. Well, actually, no, this is not a flyweight bout. These two guys are former flyweights, but now they're bantamweights.
Moved up.
So this would move on up. Yeah. So to the top.
And Dodson just had his last fight. Wasn't that at that weight class? And it ended in what, like 13 seconds or something like.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I remember John Dodson before he got into the UFC. He actually fought as a 135er. He fought at bantamweight.
Well, he beat T.J. Dillashaw in that season Ultimate Fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's got experience at 135. You know, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, because he's so skilled, he's 10 pounds heavier. It's still gonna translate. He's not gonna lose a step. Just gaining 10 pounds. He's fought at that weight before. And I don't want to hear the talk about he's undersized. Undersized, nothing. You know, he makes up for that. You know, with his skill and his speed. So I'm looking forward to it because Lineker is so exciting too right now. You know, the guy's just knocking fools out left and right. I wouldn't be surprised if this determines the next challenger. I know we got T.J. Dillashaw saying he should fight Cruz. We got Cody Garbrandt. But how about the winner of Lineker versus Dodson, Eddie? What do you think?
I mean, that's definitely possible. I mean, there's some really good contenders that are coming up in that weight division right now. I really like Dominic Cruz. It looks like there's no way he's going to be getting out of that Cody Nola fight. It's going to happen very soon. And this fight with Mizugaki, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, and I cannot wait to break that down. But we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Another month or so. I am very interested in finding out who Dominic Cruz is going to be fighting next, though.
Yep, absolutely. And then you were saying the other one was Vitor versus.
I just want to say one quick thing though, Ted. Before we say that, on the UFC video game, they actually have John Dodson as the fastest fighter in the UFC.
Oh, I bet you Demetrius Johnson would have something to say about that, huh? I mean, those two guys have fought twice before with Johnson coming out on top both times.
Yeah, that first fight was a close one, and that's why they had to make that rematch, though.
Right, yeah, Johnson knocked him down like 3 times.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, dude, and of course, Mighty Mouse's birthday was this week. I just want to give a shout-out to him from Pure Evil MMA and Evil and Intoxicated. Happy birthday, Mighty Mouse.
Happy birthday.
30 years old.
Uh-oh.
All right, so the next round, Ted, that I no, Vitor Belfort, correct, and Gegard Mousasi.
Belfort versus Mousasi, right? That's going to be at UFC 204. Because I think Vitor is number 4 in the rankings, and then Mousasi is number 7. So two guys in the top 10. This is Vitor's coming off of a loss, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't his last fight was to Weidman.
He just lost to Damian Maia, right?
Say again?
He just lost recently to Damian Maia, correct?
I don't know about that. I think Maia's down to welterweight, right?
Oh, who was his last fight? Guys, if you're in the chat room, definitely correct us. I'm sorry, Ted. You can keep going.
I thought Weidman was Vitor's last fight. I don't know. And then Mousasi's coming off of, I think, 2 wins. These guys, have been around the game a long time, and but they're very different fighters. Of course, you got Vitor and his blitz. If you can, if you can get past the first round with Vitor, you got a good chance of beating him. Whereas Mousasi is, very technical and seems. I think kind of the criticism of him is he's very laid back. Sometimes
he's very serious, and it seems like he's almost in a bad mood all the time. Like in his interviews and stuff like that, but he just takes the game seriously, man.
Mm-hmm. But you know, sometimes it seems as always, you know, just so relaxed. Maybe he underestimates his opponents or whatever. But I don't know. It's a good matchup because you know, Mousasi's very technical on the feet. Vitor is more of a you know, fast-paced brawler. But then they're both great on the ground, so it's a great matchup.
Well, Dan Henderson also knocked out Vitor in his 2 fights ago with that head kick, I'm pretty sure. That was like 2 fights ago at the end of last year. So, yeah, man, there's some amazing fights coming up, and there's some really cool fights that we're going to talk about after UFC 202.
That's right.
So, all right, man, Ishii, that's what I have written down. He loves his damn bitches, huh?
Yeah, Teruto Ishihara. That's right. I mean, this guy is, you know, he's pretty much taken the UFC by storm. You know, what he wants to do is he wants to break that stereotype that Asian dudes can't get chicks, and you know, seriously, he said it. He said it. You know?
Well, Ted, I got the picture up for everyone to see, and it's him laying in the bed with 5 girls surrounding him. He's grabbing on them. He's loving it, and it just says he loves his bitches.
Right. I mean, there's your proof right there. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So he's got that honey badger thing going on here, and you know, the guy. Yeah. I mean, see, here's the thing. Reportedly, it was I think it was Justin Buchholz, who is from Team Alpha Male. And, you know, and Ishihara is also with Team Alpha Male. So Buchholz said on their podcast, the UFC clamped down on Ishihara and said, hey, dude, ease up on the bitches, you know. But my point is, he loves his bitches. He's lifting them up. He's not bringing them down. He's not like Ronda Rousey with a do-nothing bitch. Don't be a do-nothing bitch. You know, I mean, are we talking about the same group of? I said this on a video. Are we talking about the same group of bitches here, or is it a different group of bitches? What, funny. You know what I mean? What bitches are we talking about? But no matter, he loves them. He doesn't hate them. He loves them. So he's just spreading the love, as far as I know, as far as I can tell.
It looks like where's he from? Japan?
Yeah, he's Japanese.
And, you know, Rampage went over to Japan, and he started loving his bitches over there. He ended up bringing them back to the USA.
Right. He liked the Japanese women, and Ishihara apparently loves American women or any women, all women.
You know, they got to hook up and trade with one another, because I'm sure Ishii's got some pretty good-looking Japanese women for him, and I'm sure Rampage can hook him up with some pretty bad bitches himself.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great video. It's a shame that Rampage isn't still in the UFC, because they could do a lot with that right there.
Well, of course, Ted, I got to mention that Rampage said that he apologizes and that he should have never left the UFC.
Oh, is that right? Did he say that now?
Yeah, he made a tweet saying that he apologizes and that he should have just stayed with the UFC.
You know, I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know. That guy just he changes organizations probably faster than he changes underwear. You know what I mean? It's like he's with the UFC, then he's with Bellator, then Bellator pisses him off, then he's back with the UFC. UFC pisses him off, he's back with Bellator. You know, I can't keep track anymore.
Man, he's entertaining, though. That season of Ultimate Fighter that he was on was one of the most watched television UFC Ultimate Fighters that they ever had. I think it was season 10.
With Rashad Evans.
Yeah. Kimbo was on there. Brendan Schaub was on there. Roy Nelson was on there.
Rashad was the coach, though, right?
Yes, Rashad was the coach. Rashad was on season 2 Ultimate Fighter. He won season 2 Ultimate Fighter and then ended up coaching later on.
Right. Yep.
And, of course, from that season, Rampage was always talking about that dude titties. I wonder if they're ever going to make that matchup, because he still talks about it.
He does. Why is he obsessed with that guy? Is that Daryl Schoonover? Does Daryl Schoonover even fight anymore?
I don't know.
Why is he? Yeah, because he says, "Oh, if I win, I'm going to motorboat him."
Titties.
You know? Yeah. Okay, you're going to motorboat another dude. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Ishii and Rampage would make a great show together.
Oh yeah, they should do a reality show of those two guys.
So Ted,
yes.
I have written down next. I don't know if you crossed it off your list, but I definitely want to touch on it. John Bones has some good news.
No, that was number 5. That was our last round of the 5-minute rounds.
Oh, okay. So Conor versus the WWE.
We cut that one out. We cut the Conor WWE one out so we could talk about Conor and Nate at 202 at the press conference.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So we got Jones. That's our last one.
All right. So John Bones released this week a really cool video, and I actually watched it like the minute that he posted it. I have my notifications set for anything John Bones because I've been waiting for this announcement.
You love him. I know you do.
I got like all my favorite fighters notification, even like Ariel. So as soon as they release a tweet or anything, I pops right up on my phone like my mother's calling me.
Oh, she is? Go ahead. Answer
No. I'm saying like it notifies me like my mom's
messing with you.
You know?
I'm messing with you.
Like it's just as important to me.
Yeah. No, I got you, man. I got you.
But John Bones said that he's got some great news. He made a video on Periscope saying that he's got some great news coming. And then Dana White, Ted, said that this is true, that we found out that he did not fail for what we thought he was on.
Well, yeah, and then I found it interesting that Daniel Cormier, then I think it was on Twitter, said, wait a minute, but he's got to have something. So it's not one thing, but it's another thing. You know, like he's not out of the woods yet.
So it might be 1 year suspension is the rumor.
Man, I don't know what to believe anymore. See, Dana White said, let's look at his comment. He said it looks like he did not take the supplement that everybody thought he took, and we will see how this plays out. So are we saying he did not take estrogen blockers? Because both his A sample and his B sample tested positive for estrogen blockers. That's why they have 2 samples. It's, so if one is screwy, you look at the second one. But they both were the same. So I'm very confused.
Me too. We're all very confused right now, I think.
We're all very confused. And John, like you said, John Jones on Instagram or Periscope or whatever says, oh, things are looking good. I could be, back in the UFC far sooner than I thought, or what words to that effect.
But Ted, I just want to say, man, for Dana White to come forward and say that, it must mean that there is definitely some truth behind that, and there is some good news, because either way, there might have been some strings pulled, and I think me and you were talking about that last night, that, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, because USADA is actually, the UFC pays for USADA, correct? You want to break this down for everyone?
That's my understanding. I should probably do some more research on this, but my understanding is, they hired them. They pay USADA to test the fighters. I mean, USADA is a business. They're not going to do it for free.
Yeah.
So the UFC had to pay to bring them in. So, you could argue that in essence, the UFC is USADA's employer. So my question is, does the UFC have any oversight? Could the UFC influence USADA in any way? So a lot of people with the tinfoil hats are saying the fix is in, man. The fix is in. Dana White called up USADA and said, "Hey, you make this right with John Jones. We'll just this is the narrative that we're gonna do now. We're gonna say he didn't test positive. The testing was incorrect, or something happened. It wasn't estrogen blockers, and we're gonna get him back in because he's our cash cow." I don't know. I don't know what to believe now. All I know is I don't believe much of what comes out of Dana White's mouth anymore. So this whole looks like he didn't knowingly take. The knowingly thing, that's the other thing. So what if he knew it or if he didn't know it? The fact is it was in his body, and as a fighter, I've said this so many times, I'm going to continue to say it though. You got to know what you're putting in your body. It's your body. It ain't nobody else's body. It's your body.
And Mighty Mouse is the one who says that all the time, too. Like, I'm a champion. I got to make sure I know what I'm taking, what's going in my body. And you know what, man? There's so many things out there that could be contaminated, too, and there is some truth behind that for sure. But it just gets tiring hearing that it's kangaroo meat, and it's this, it's that. It's just like, fess up if you really did it. I mean, Chad Mendez, I actually like that he came forward. He was like, you know what, I messed up, and I got to take the punishment for it. And now he's out for 2 years.
Eddie, I want to ask you. There's been a question on the message boards. A couple folks want to know: has Jones been stripped? And since you're the John Jones, since he's your boy, did he get stripped of the interim title? He won the interim title. Did he then get stripped of it?
Nope, not until this was actually ruled would he be stripped of his belt.
Okay, so he needs to go before the Nevada State Athletic Commission.
Yeah, this needs to come to a hearing, and then it will be decided. And if he is out for 2 years, that belt will be stripped. But then again, the good news might just be he's out for 1 year, so they still might take it. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that'll be at the discretion of the UFC. I mean, they could strip him of it, but then what? What do you do with it? Because you still have Daniel Cormier as your champ. You know, he's got the real belt.
And you know what's a shame, Ted? That, Daniel was actually talking about retiring after UFC 202. So the question is this fight ever going to happen?
Well, Cormier then just tweeted out that he's got the winner of Rumble versus Tex.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like he's going to quit.
I don't know why he said that then. It's just crazy. Like, that was like the worst thing that you could have done was say that you were thinking about retiring. That just shows that it's on his mind. It's definitely on his mind.
Right, and that can sometimes cloud a fighter's their psyche.
Meaning, if he loses now, Ted, that he might not have the pick me up again to get back in there if he does lose. Wouldn't you say?
If who loses?
If DC loses, him saying that he's going to retire, I feel like if he did lose, that he wouldn't even try to get the belt back just because he said that. And that's just what I think. That's just my opinion, of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he sounds excited about the Rumble to Sheriff fight. So he's kind of going on the notion that Jones is screwed and that he's going to be out of the picture for a while. And so he's looking to his next title defense. So he's like, hey, I got the winner of Rumble versus Tex.
You know what, Ted? No one's really even been talking about the Rumble versus Tex, and I love that matchup. It's perfect. They're both on a tear right now. And, of course, we're going to talk about this later. But I just had to mention that, man. They haven't really been talking about that. And since Glover Teixeira fights out of Connecticut, I'm just pumped about it because he's been on a tear, man.
That's right. Yeah. Where is he? In Danbury, right?
Danbury, correct.
Yeah. Nice. That's crazy. A Brazilian in Danbury. You never think that. I remember when who was it? Gabriel Gonzaga. He lives in Massachusetts. You know, I used to think this is stupid, but I used to think the entire every Brazilian in America lives in Las Vegas. Although actually here in Pennsylvania, we've got some. There's in York, Pennsylvania. There's Daniel Beleza, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. That's an awesome Jiu-Jitsu fighter. Very dynamic. I think he's like 135 pounder or whatever. So yeah, but I used to think, they're all in Las Vegas. That's it. They're just there and nowhere else in the country.
And I think that wraps up our 5-minute round, correct?
Yep.
Which brings us to, since it's the Olympics, and before we get into that, just some real talk right now. I had a really cool day, Ted. My girlfriend is sleeping out at her friend Hannah's house. She brought 2 of the rats with her, and I told you last night, and of course our listeners all know about the rats. Well, Angie Jabs brought home another rat last week, Ted. And
oh my God, do we need another rat?
6 of them.
How many rats do we need?
They're all right here too. Check it out. They're all with us watching the show.
Hey, look at that.
They're in the room keeping me company right now in the studio.
You keep them you keep them caged up, huh?
Well, we let them run around. They're actually potty trained for the most part. Not all of them, but a couple of them are actually potty trained. Yeah, so Angie Jabs is at her friend's house, and she's actually probably watching right now. Actually, so what's going on, baby? Nice. He just texted me like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, it's Wednesday. It's past 10 o'clock. I'm probably on YouTube live streaming." He knows what I do on Wednesdays.
So we were talking about the Olympics, Eddie.
Yes, Ted. And have you been watching the Olympics?
I gotta say, I really haven't. I've been following it in the sense of all of the crime that's been going on there, but because I'm a crime reporter in my day job, and so I've been following, like, this Olympic athlete got robbed, and this, all these crimes that have been going on related to, and people were saying that was going to happen. It's Rio. It's a dangerous city, and the poop soup that they have to swim through in Rio. But so that's mainly what I've been following. I really have not been following the whole reason why they're there, the sports.
Well, Ted, I just want to ask, you did just mention your crime thing, and I know that you started doing your little the crime blog, correct? How is that going, man?
Well, yeah, I do a weekly thing with the York Daily Record, the paper I work for. I can't remember whose idea it was, but they were like, "Oh, why don't you get in front of the camera and talk about weird news?"
I love it.
Or they didn't even say weird news, but I just kind of decided that was the direction that we were going to go in.
That is so cool, dude. That's so cool.
All the weird stuff, like this one woman, she had two little kids, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. She put them in the trunk of her Corvette, and like took off down the street. Luckily, somebody called 911 and they pulled her over quick. And then when you saw her mugshot, she was like, "Ee," like this.
This is in your area?
Yeah.
Dude, my mom just bought a house, dude, last year, and the week that she moved in, the lady that lived next door killed her 2 little children, poisoned them, and killed them. They were there for like a day and a half dead. And my mom moved in right next door. It was just so weird. You know what I mean? Like, how could you do that to your children?
Right,
Crazy.
right. I try not to get into too much of the heavy stuff. I do kind of the weird, but like lighter news. Like we had a serial bank robber, and his deal was he would dress up in women's clothing. He was a cross dresser,
Okay.
and I envisioned, but he had different wigs. Like I could see, like, at his house, he had all those styrofoam heads that you put the wigs on.
You saw this?
No. I was imagining.
Oh, okay. Like
had,
Silence of the Lamb style, right?
Yeah, like really, it rubs the lotion on his body.
Basket. Yeah.
So I just was imagining, like, he had the styrofoam heads with all the different wigs, and he had to decide. But he did have a collection of wigs. I know that. I know he had more than one.
Dude, I say this all the time. Nothing surprises me anymore. People are just crazy out there.
Yep, and he had like a flowered dress, and then he would wear like a paisley shirt, and like he would switch it up. But anyway, that's going great. But back to Rio.
Back to Rio.
The crazy thing that happened there. This is, file this under MMA Justice. Okay, so this dude is driving down the street in his vehicle in Rio. It was only like last week or the week before, or whatever, while the Olympics are going on, and he's stuck in traffic. So this motorcycle pulls up alongside of him, and there's 2 people on the motorcycle. One of them has a gun, uses the gun to break the window, the driver's side window, and then sticks the gun in the window to rob the guy. Well, he disarms the guy using his jiu-jitsu, and then shoots the dude in the face.
Crazy.
And then the that was the guy riding bitch.
Is this the opening theme of the Transporter 3 that you're telling us?
It should be. So that was the guy riding bitch. He was on the back. So he falls off the motorcycle, dead. The guy in the front, of course, no honor among thieves. He just takes off. And so then the news, when it came out, the guy was described as a Russian diplomat, but
Oh yeah, his name, doesn't he have some crazy name?
I can't even tell you his name, but it was clearly Brazilian. He was like
De La Silva
Ribeiro or whatever. You know what I mean? He was clearly Brazilian, which is fine, and he used his jiu-jitsu.
It just doesn't sound Russian.
Yeah, no, he's not Russian. So that was crazy.
This has been going on a lot down there in Brazil. I've been seeing a lot of reports of this. People have been dressing up like police officers and pulling people over in the after hours. The people who are drunk that have some money. I'm pretty sure it was an Olympic swimmer who got robbed. And one of the news correspondents when I was watching, I think it was USA Today or something, but it happened to them. They were getting pulled over by people dressed up as cops, and they were like, "Don't get out of the car." They were telling them to get out of the car. They were like, "No, just go back to the safe zone." So you got to be careful down there, man. Rio is Rio.
Yeah, it's really Rio is really dangerous. Yeah. No, it seriously is one of the most dangerous cities in the world, I believe.
Yeah.
What do we got next, Eddie?
I have best and worst MMA nicknames. So this is a fun segment that me and Ted came up. If you're just tuning in, you're watching, of course, Evil and Intoxicated. We do this every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. So come join us. We have an open chat room, and this is one of the fun segments. This show is just to remind everyone, this show is for all of us to interact. We have our own shows that we do. You guys can check that out. Search for Ted on YouTube. Just Ted Czech, TEDCZECH, and of course my show right here on Pure Evil MMA TV channel on YouTube. But we meet up every Wednesday night. There's a live interactive chat room, and we're just having fun. Like, there's so much going on in MMA in 2016. It's the best sport around, in my opinion. So we come up with these fun segments for everybody, for you guys to interact with us, and this is one of them that we came up with, MMA nicknames. So, Ted, what is one of your favorite or worst MMA nicknames? Where you want to start, worst or best?
Well, I'll tell you, two of the worst.
Okay.
Two of the worst, and I've been on the message boards, and this seems to be a consensus. And I'm talking about current fighters. One guy who's a Corey Anderson, he calls himself Beastin 25-8. I guess 24/7 was not enough, so it's Beastin 25-8.
That was an awesome one-liner, Ted.
and then you got Dominic Steele. He calls himself Non-Stop Action Packed. So Dominic Non-Stop Action Packed Steele. I mean, that Non-Stop Action Packed. What if he has a dull fight? You know what I mean? He's really got a lot to uphold there. He really has to live up to that.
Definitely. And he just lost his last fight.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, Minion. Bilal, remember the name Muhammad.
Yes. He fought not too long ago, too, and I remember hearing that. Remember the name Bilal Muhammad. He's the guy who took that fight on short notice. Who did he just fight? Bilal Muhammad. I just interviewed him.
Beastin 26. Yeah,
Alan Jaban. Alan Jaban he fought.
Oh, okay. See, I don't remember the name. I did not. I did not remember the name. And Ryan Darth Bader. I kind of like Darth Bader, although a lot of people said it should have been Master.
Well, I'll tell you one, Ted, that I'm tired of hearing. Pitbull. I'm tired of everyone calling himself Pitbull.
Me too. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that one. An assassin. Everybody's an assassin.
Whether you're the Polish Pitbull, the Pitbull, or Pitbull, or even Pitbull, stop using the name Pitbull.
Yeah, it just doesn't have, it's really not that fearsome anymore. Yeah, let's see. I think some of the best nicknames are the ones where, it just so fits you that it becomes your actual name. Like Rampage Jackson. Nobody calls him Quinton Jackson anymore. Everybody just calls him Rampage Jackson. Or Crow Cop. Nobody calls him, or not too many people call him Mirko. Or Mirko. They just call him Crow Cop. Crow Cop Filipovic. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
when those nicknames just become who you are, or you become your nickname or whatever, I think those are some of the best nicknames,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Uncle Creepy. Ann was saying, or Mr. Creepy.
I love Uncle Creepy, Ian McCall.
Uncle Creepy. Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of a pedophile, but that's just me. So I don't know if I would want to be known as that. Nick the Carney Lentz.
Nick the Carney Lentz.
Carnies. Small hands. They smell like cabbage.
There's a bunch of them. I have like a bunch written down, but
Yeah, it's a Minion. Yeah, Rumble or Mighty Mouse. Yeah, who actually uses their real
Oh,
names?
come on. I love Mighty Mouse. That's a great
No,
nickname.
I think he's agreeing with me, saying like they just become their
Oh, it
nickname.
becomes them. Yeah, okay,
It
all right.
becomes them.
I love Mighty Mouse. Come on.
Pat, awesomely awesome Audenwood. Wow.
Pat Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome
that sucks.
Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on, man. There's a lot of bad ones out there.
What about Dave Pee Wee Herman?
Right. I mean, he's hardly Pee Wee. Well, unless he's talking about his junk or whatever. But I mean, he's a big dude. You know?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if you were a fighter, Ted, what would your nickname be?
Oh my God. Oh wow. You know, I've never thought of that. I mean, you know, you often think about. Oh, I know. I've thought about. You know, like, oh, if I was an adult star, what would it be? You know.
What, a porn star? You're an adult star? What does that mean?
An adult? No, no.
An adult porn
You know,
star?
like on Seinfeld. Oh, it would be Buck Naked. My nickname would be Buck Naked. You know. No, I don't know. I don't know what it would be. I've never really given that too much thought.
Well, when I was little,
Eddie.
when I was little, I was like obsessed with WWF, WWE, of course. That's why I'm such a huge MMA fan now. But I used to pretend I was this wrestler because I had all those beat up dolls they used to have. Like they're like pillows. Their arms are like this, and you can like beat them up or do whatever. And I made up this wrestling name. I had a shirt made and everything. I used to call myself Razcat. That's what I wanted to be named, Razcat. Growing up.
Razcat.
R-A-Z-K-A-T, Razcat.
Razcat.
My
Oh, it
dad-
reminds me of the Barn Cat, Tamden McCrory.
My dad still makes fun of me. My little sister actually messaged me the other night making fun of me for that.
Razcat.
Razcat. Just funny. Yeah, I used to run around. I had a little shirt made up, beating up these little pillows in my living room.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Vladimir the janitor Matashenko. I guess he really was a janitor at one point.
I think so. With that name.
You'd have to be. Anyway, so
So Ted, I think it's time for UFC 202.
Let's do it.
I'm so anxious, bro. I'm so anxious for UFC.
All right, we'll do it. I was just gonna tell everybody if they have any more nicknames, keep throwing them down. But yeah, let's move on to UFC 202, and talk about the fights.
So, first off, on the UFC Fight Pass prelims, there's a little discussion about that. They're not too happy with headlining it, but Lorenz Larkin is going to be fighting Neil Magny in a fight that you cannot miss. It's going to be one hell of a fight. Lorenz Larkin, of course, has a win over RDA. Neil Magny has been on a roll lately. He's beat Kelvin Gastelum. He just beat who did Neil Magny? Hector Lombard, correct?
Hector Lombard, yeah.
And now he's going to come face to face with Lorenz Larkin, man. This is going to be a great one.
It is absolutely. I mean, Magny what was he on, like a 7 or 8 fight tear before he ran into Damian Maia, but still, still put up a valiant effort there. Lorenz Larkin has done great at 170. He moved down from 185 to 170, looked great there. So yeah, this is one of these fights that, and we were talking about this earlier, Eddie. This could easily be on the main card. It could easily open up the main card or be fifth fight, fourth fight, something like that. No problem. The UFC by design did this, I think, to pump up the. Oh my God, my son, my 15-year-old. I have to tell you this. My 15-year-old son is upstairs. I've got the door shut. I can hear him screaming like a banshee up there because he's playing video
online game, Call of Duty or something.
Something, Grand Theft Auto, and he's like, "Woo!" howling like a little girl. He's 15 years old, for God's sake. Anyway, it's like he's right in the. I can hear him through the floor.
That's great.
Anyway, back to the fight.
It's expected, Ted. Come on, it's expected.
He needs to. Oh my God, he needs to get out more. Anyway, so yeah, the UFC did this because they want to make Fight Pass important. They want to give the Fight Pass people something. You know, they want you to buy Fight Pass. So this is the carrot that they're holding in front of you. Like, hey, look, we're putting on exciting fights on Fight Pass. This is why you need it. But yeah, so Lawrence Larkin wasn't too happy. I haven't really heard anything negative from Neil Magny. So yeah, it's gonna be great. God, it's almost
Ted,
a coin flip in my opinion.
I just want to say, since the way the pay-per-views work, and I'm not sure the way that Fight Pass works, but do those fighters who are on Fight Pass get a chunk of that Fight Pass subscriber money? Like, how does that work? Like, what's the benefit on really being on Fight Pass? Like, I think that's one of the reasons why these fighters are so mad. UFC 202 is a huge card, and those are huge named fighters right there that should definitely be on the main card, and they definitely deserve a little more money.
I don't think they do. I don't think they get any more money. I mean, they get see now. If it was the olden days before the Reebok era, when you had your sponsors, if I was a fighter and I was on Fight Pass, I'd be pissed off because that is you get less exposure than being on Fox or being on the pay-per-view. But now that it's kind of, I don't know if you can call it a benefit for the Reebok era, but at least you don't have to worry about not getting exposure for your sponsors. It still kind of sucks though, because as a fighter you always want to maximize your exposure, even though you don't have sponsors other than Reebok.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what I mean.
I do have to say, Ted. I'm sorry, Ted.
No, go for it, man.
Honestly, UFC Fight Pass for $7 a month is so worth it because you get all the fights, you get every season Ultimate Fighter, all those shows that they have as well. And I think it's a great deal for just $7 a month. And also, I just want to give a shout out to one of my childhood friends who just got hired by the UFC, who's actually making the Dan Severn documentary remake, that like a little fightography show. So shout out to Justin for getting the job at UFC, man. That's awesome.
Congrats, Justin.
But yeah, man, they're not too happy about it. Lorenz Larkin, I'm excited about it. His record, though, Neil Magny is ranked number 7th, Ted.
Right.
He's 18-5, and Lorenz Larkin isn't even ranked, actually. He's 17-5. So this is going to be a good fight, man. Right.
I mean, if Larkin gets the win over Magny, I would think that he would get ranked with that. With a win over number 7, he should definitely crack the top 15, if not the top 10. And he is so fast, so skilled on the feet.
The Monsoon you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, so's Magny, but and I think Magny definitely has the. Magny's going to have an advantage as far as his height and his length. I mean, he's so tall and lanky. Larkin is significantly shorter. So Larkin's going to have to get in close.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ted. Don't forget that Lorenz Larkin has a win over Robbie Lawler as well when they were in Strikeforce. I mean, he's a dangerous man. He's a dangerous man.
Yeah, that was when he was a middleweight.
He's very creative. He's got that agility, like you just said.
Oh no, wait. Maybe it wasn't. No, because Robbie Lawler's a welterweight. I don't know. I can't remember. It's so long ago. But I know at one point Lorenz Larkin did fight at a heavier weight. But anyway, on the ground, I would give it definitely to Magny. Magny has got a pretty solid ground game. Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to take Larkin down and then he'll stand with him for sure. He's not going to be afraid to stand with him. But at some point, after maybe trying to weaken him up, loosen him up on the feet, then going for the takedown and get a submission.
He had some trouble in that first round in his last fight against Hector Lombard, and he came back. That was one of my favorite comebacks this year for sure, because that was a crazy first round that I thought was all over. And Magny came back and just broke Hector Lombard down.
Yep, he sure did. So, so the guy's got intestinal fortitude, as you would say. The guy's got a strong will. He's not somebody that's going to quit. So that's what that shows to me. So and that's a good thing to have as a fighter. You want that.
Definitely. Who do you got next written down? I know that Randa Marcos is going to be fighting Casey, and I don't think we have that written down, but I just want to say I think Randa wins that one.
Okay. We'll go with that. The next one I had written down was Cody Garbrandt versus Takeya Mizugaki.
Very important fight for the young Cody Nolov right here. Very important to make an impact against Mizugaki after Dominic Cruz just beat Mizugaki when he came back into the UFC.
Right. I mean, he made quick work of Mizugaki, but Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt's been talking so much about Dominic Cruz. I really hope he's not looking past Mizugaki. I mean, he needs to take this fight seriously, and as we know, fighters sometimes make that mistake of looking past the opponent that's right in front of them for something that may happen in the future. You got to worry about what's right here first, and so that's my concern with Cody Garbrandt, an incredibly talented fighter that he is. I just don't want him to look past Mizugaki, because he keeps talking about Dominic Cruz this and Dominic Cruz that.
Mizugaki is a tough mother effer, man. I mean, he'll pour the pressure onto Cody Nolov. He's not a finisher, but he's one tough cookie. Most of his wins have been by decision, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And
it's just crazy that Dominic Cruz knocked him out, and Dominic Cruz doesn't have much power behind those hands, and I'm not talking lip or anything, but he's more of he'll move around, break you down, point fighter. And you know what? Yeah. That's one of the most impressive attributes of Dominic Cruz is that footwork. So once
that's why I said maybe he should hop over to Dancing with the Stars. Forget about the UFC. He could win that thing outright. No problem.
Maybe it will be a team alpha male versus Dominic Cruz. We'll send Paige Van Zant versus Dominic Cruz in another alpha male battle.
Yeah, there you go. So that's right, because he can't stand the whole team, and she's part of that team.
Yeah, so why not have a dance competition?
Absolutely. So Cody Garbrandt, I mean, that guy, Jody was saying she loves him, but he needs to slow his wheels a little bit.
I agree. I totally agree. He's saying he's going to be the next Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I mean, my question is, does Jody mean as far as his style in the cage, or does she mean as far as when he's talking, about where he sees his career going?
I think she's talking about the talking, because that's what I mean when I say I agree.
Okay. And
I'm just looking at the chat room right now. Shout out to Minion, shout out to Jody, Ann, Monet, Dasher. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We're talking about UFC 202 right now. This is Wednesday's episode of Evil Intoxicated, episode number 9. I can't believe we're episode number 9, man.
Can you believe it?
I can't. I really can't.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
This is. I think we're we're hitting our stride, Eddie. We're getting there. I think every show, we improve, and everybody's been great on the message board. Hopefully we're gaining followers. Hopefully everybody's spreading the word, because I think we got something here, man. I think we definitely do.
Definitely, and we're going to be looking for sponsors now, and I think it's definitely a perfect time to for anyone to jump on board with us, because we do get messages all the time, but the offer has to be right. You know what I mean? And we have a fun show set up and big plans ahead of us. So if you want to check us out, we're going to be here every Wednesday night. And this is, our 9th episode. We're breaking down UFC 202. This is going to be a historic episode. So Cody Nolov, I am making the check off next to his name. That's who I'm going with to win this fight.
And I'm saying by knockout.
By knockout.
Or TKO, whichever. But yeah, that guy's got some serious hands there.
Well, not to mention that he's only had 2 decisions in his life. He's in MMA because he's ended every other fight within that first round.
He means business.
He means business, man.
So next we have we move up to the main card, Eddie. Rick Story versus Donald Cerrone. We skipped a couple, just because of time constraints. So we're going with the top 3 fights for UFC 202, starting from number 3. That's Rick the Horror Story. Do you like that nickname, or do you not like that nickname, Eddie?
I do. And you know what? Someone mentioned the other day that he is the forever underdog in every fight. And he really is.
Well, yeah, except for I could probably think of one occasion where he wasn't, and that was against Charlie Brenneman. And Brenneman. So probably the one fight where Rick Story was favored, he lost. He lost to Charlie Brenneman.
Oh, shit.
That was UFC in Pittsburgh. Charlie Brenneman from Pennsylvania, and won that fight, I think, by split decision. It was decision. I know it was decision.
Okay.
It was probably Charlie's best, most significant win in the UFC. Charlie actually now is a motivational speaker. He's
Really?
he's retired from fighting, and he's doing the motivational speaking and other things related to that, I think. But I see his videos every now and then. But anyway, yeah. So Rick the Horror Story versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone.
And of course, Rick Story is ranked number 9th, and Cerrone is ranked 6th in that division. I love Cerrone for moving up. This is a more comfortable, a weight class for him. He has a 30-7 record. This is going to be one hell of a fight. He's looked better than ever in the last 2 fights. I mean, I know he lost to RDA, but after that, man, he has been on a roll, baby.
Yes, he has. I think this is going to be his 3rd fight at welterweight, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
So
after the fight with RDA, he moved up.
So this will be number 3 for him because he's won his first 2 fights at welterweight. So this will be number 3.
That first fight was against the other Cowboy in the fight for the Cowboy versus Cowboy name. And then he just fought, who was it? He just fought like 3 weeks ago.
I can't remember either. But that was a win. Regardless, that was a win. So now he gets Rick the Horror Story, who's on a 3-fight win streak. And, I was just watching
Patrick Cote. Patrick Cote.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Jody. So I was just watching some footage on Rick Story. Rick Story is a pressure fighter, okay? Very aggressive, in your face, get you up against the cage, but doesn't necessarily like to he's not going to clinch with you when he gets you up against the cage. No, he's going to bang the body with body shots. He's got some of the best body shots in the game.
And elbows.
He's going to hit with hooks. Yep, all that stuff. He is, but he's got the wrestling pedigree as well in his back pocket. He's a banger, but don't sleep on him as far as the wrestling is concerned. Cerrone, on the other hand, at 6'1", I forget. Story might be about 5'8" or so.
He's 5'10".
5'10", okay.
I'm looking at it right here. That's why.
There you go. So Cerrone's still got a few inches on him. So I would imagine he's got some reach on him. He's a more tall, lanky guy. Probably going to want to keep him at a distance with kicks and things like that. So you really have a clash of styles here. I struggle with this one too.
Right off the bat, Ted, I said that this is going to be a tough fight for Rick Story, just because Cowboys looked amazing lately.
Right, but geez, I don't know. I'm going back and forth. I think it's going to be God. I don't know. I'm leaning just slightly towards Cerrone. This is going to be a good test for him. I don't think he's going to be able to finish Rick Story. I think he's going to get a unanimous decision.
Well, let me tell you this. Tarek Safardine, who Rick Story just fought, was a tough fighter. I do not think that night where he fought Rick Story back in May, I don't think that he was on the top of his game and what I expected, but it was a good fight and Rick Story won. But I think if you put Cowboy in there against Rick Story, I think Cowboy is going to come up on top. You might be right. It could go to decision. I see this ending probably in the 3rd round, and then if not, it will go to decision. But probably not an early ending fight.
Well, looking at the message board, Minion is saying Story needs to target Cowboy's weak-ass liver. Otherwise, Corinne, I think he meant Cerrone. He called him Corinne. Corinne is taking the decision, in my humble opinion. And Jody agreed with him. And then you got Ann weighing in. Cowboy's really looking good at 170.
Exactly.
Get that right, Eddie. Cowboy is amazing.
Well, Ann's a huge fan of Cowboy.
No doubt about it. He's been looking great at 170. I think it's a more natural weight for him. Like I said, he's lanky, but he's 6'1". I mean, that it's tough to do 6'1", 155 pounds. I mean, Nate Diaz does it, but it's a tough weight cut.
You know, and Rick Story has great defense as well. That's why this definitely might go more closer to third round or decision. So I'll agree with that. I am definitely taking Cowboy. And then that moves us to our co-main event, Ed.
Co-main event.
The number 1 and 2 contenders.
Right. You know, and props because Rumble is the number 1 contender. He could pull a Tyron Woodley and be like, you know what, I'm the number 1 contender. I don't need to fight. Anybody. But instead, they came to him probably with Teixeira, and it was number 2, and he said, great, I've got some time here because DC just fought, so he's taking on Teixeira. So that's good. I mean, I've been critical of Rumble in the past for his legal transgressions. So I'm just going to say that because it's true. But as far as just the fighting, separating it just into the fight game, this is a great fight between two guys who can knock you out. Although Rumble has more of that one punch.
Oh yeah.
Serious, either one punch or one kick, because his head kick is pretty lethal.
Oh yeah, and he's been working on that lately. I've been seeing on his Instagram and everything.
Yep, I saw that too. Whereas Teixeira, more of like a combo kind of guy that'll get you. Oh, I mean, what was that last fight?
Rashad, he fought Rashad.
Rashad, that was one punch pretty much. But it's more the preponderance of it though. Like leading up to that,
he took out OSP too.
What's that?
Remember, before that, he took out OSP.
Right. So, but I mean, in my mind, I still see Teixeira as more of a guy who's going to hit you with combos, and it's more of like the preponderance of the punch after punch after punch after punch, and he wears you down, and then he finally hits you with one, and you go down. Whereas Rumble, it could be the only punch he hits you with, or the only kick he nails you with, and that's it, you're done.
And that's usually in the beginning of the fight when it comes to Rumble. It's usually towards, in that first round where he comes out real strong and pours the pack on you. So the question is, if Teixeira can get out of that first round, I think it will be more evened out at that point. But I definitely think that Rumble has an advantage in that first round.
Right, and God, I can't even remember the last time I saw Teixeira on the ground, but if Rumble is anything like he used to be, he was always weak on the ground. That was his Achilles heel. That was his kryptonite, whatever you want to call it. Oh, there goes Minion again. Okay, so he means to do it. He calls Cerrone Corinne. Oh, Corinne is his alter ego on his days off. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's autocorrect. He means to say Cerrone. Anyway, so I was talking about Rumble. Yeah, so on the ground, we've seen him get beat. I remember Vitor got him with I think it was a rear naked choke. So maybe Teixeira would want to, I don't know, try to take it to the ground. But that's going to be dangerous too, because that means shooting in for a takedown, and if you do that, you could catch a knee or an uppercut. So this is a dangerous fight for both of these guys.
Well, of course, that fight with DC, like you were just saying, Rumble versus DC, Rumble once again came out real strong and knocked DC on his buttocks, and then it just collapsed. He had found himself on his belly and tapped. Like you said,
right.
He's weak on that ground. He's weak on the ground.
That's I mean, and yeah, the other thing is his cardio, because he cuts from like 230 or more. Well, I mean, when he was a welterweight, it was a real problem. Now he's a 205er. Might not be as much of a problem, but still, he walks around 230, 240. So, he comes down from a lot of weight. So we'll just have to see if Glover can outlast him. It's almost like the Vitor blitz. If you can get through the first round with Vitor, you got a good chance. Same thing with Rumble. So we'll just have to see if Teixeira can play it smart and avoid Rumble's punches and kicks for that first round, and then he'll have a better shot. But at this point, I'm going to pick Rumble.
Yeah, it's a very close one. I really don't know who I picked for this, so I really have to hold off on my prediction, Ted, because I really want to make sure I give everyone the right prediction. I don't know, but I'm leaning towards Rumble, and that's why I'm going to wait because I'm a big Teixeira fan. Of course, he's fighting out of Connecticut, so I really want to make the right decision. So I'm going to hold off on that, and of course, I'm going to be making a prediction video as well. I'm sure, Ted, you'll be doing your videos as well, but I just got to hold off on that. Of course, I'll give you my prediction for the Conor fight next. And now we're at 90 minutes now, Ted, an hour and a half, so we're going to get into UFC 202 main event. I cannot believe me and you are about to break this down. Like, it's time.
It's time. It's time. Yeah, no, can I say that? I don't know. Did Bruce Buffer coin that phrase? Or I know there's another one, which I'm not even going to say it, that his brother uses, that you can't say the phrase.
We might lose our monetization if you do.
If you say it, you get in trouble.
Really?
Or you can rent the phrase from them. You pay them, and then you can use the phrase.
Yeah,
so anyway, Jody's picking Diaz. She's picking Diaz.
All right, yeah. So let's get right into it, Ted. We got the rematch, and just to remind everyone who hasn't watched the very first fight and what happened, Conor was unstoppable. He was supposed to go in there to fight RDA. RDA gets injured. Diaz takes the fight on short notice and goes in there. I think it was 11-day notice, Ted. He goes in there.
Yeah, he was hanging out in like Cabo San Lucas or whatever, getting fat and drinking beer or what have you, smoking dope, and I guess there was some wrangling as far as what weight class, and Conor maintains that he was the one that said, "Screw it, let's just do it at 170." Instead of 155 or 160 or 165 or what, he said, "Let's do it 170. I don't care."
And it kind of backfired in his face, and that's the kind of mentality that he was going for. Like, I don't care, anytime, anywhere, any place. And Diaz is like, all right, man, you beat up midgets before. Wait till you step in there with me at 170 pounds. And he was trying to give him that advantage as well because, of course, Nate was the underdog going in there. And it really worked in his advantage because Conor wasn't ready to be walking around at 170. He literally collapsed in there against Diaz. And I'm going to let you do your breakdown first on this and what you think, Ted, because I got my breakdown ready.
All right, man. All right. Yeah, I mean, in the first fight, Conor had a great first round. He hit Nate Diaz with a lot of punches.
With one-twos.
Yep, and had some great combos there. But credit to Nate, he took those punches. He never seemed to be in any real trouble. And
Ted, can I just say one thing? I really don't mean to interrupt you. Conor put it the best, man. That Homer Simpson episode where he takes up boxing and he just gets laid into, and the guy just gets so tired punching him, he literally just collapses. The episode of The Simpsons with Homer taking boxing, that's what he compared the last Nate fight to.
Okay, so then we get to the second round, and that's when Nate started landing on Conor, and it seemed like I don't know if that broke him, because it was like Nate hit him with a 1-2, and Conor went. It kind of stunned him, and then I think he kind of was acknowledged that, yeah, you hit me pretty good, and then people say he went into the panic wrestler mode, tried to take Nate down, and then from there, Nate sunk in the rear naked choke for the tap. So what does Conor have to do differently? Well, first of all, you want to take the weight. Now he's used to 170. He wasn't. You talked about it. He wasn't used to it before. Now I would guess that since that first fight with Nate up until this time, he's just maintained that weight of 170 as opposed to beefing himself up to 170. He's just stayed at that weight, so it's more natural to him now.
Well, not only that, Ted, that he was throwing a lot of heavy punches, and if you've ever done sparring or boxing or even just hitting a punching bag, man, after you throw 30, 40 punches, man, your arms get tired when you're throwing haymakers like that. And Conor, what Conor does best, Ted, and we all know this, is he keeps fighters at a distance with that leg kick to the body, and that gives him the perfect length. He wasn't doing that in the fight with Nate here.
Right. So he needs to do that. The spinning back kick. He's got a full arsenal of kicks. And I think it was I think it was one of the embeddeds. I did see him do this the spinning back kick, and I was like, "Oh, that looked really sharp. He needs to do that." Maybe he was afraid of doing it. Maybe he thought that he could just handle Nate with his hands. I don't know what it was, but yeah. So the weight's on point. His coach John Kavanaugh says he's like a what do you say? He was like a 500 horsepower, 4-barrel or whatever, eight cylinder muscle car. So, to me, Kavanaugh's saying he's got the cardio. The cardio is where it needs to be. So so he just needs to totally switch up the game plan, work the kicks, and not let Nate get to him. Because I think Conor kind of modeled himself after the Diaz brothers in the cage. When he does this and is taunting, he modeled himself after the Diaz brothers, but I think he kind of allowed himself to get out Diaz'd, in that first fight. So he's got to keep his head about him and not get psyched out in the cage when, if things do go south for him. Needs to keep his head. And, we know he's been working on the ground game. My question is it going to be enough? Nate Diaz has been a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt for a long time. Conor's been training with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. I don't know, where he's at, whether he's a blue belt, purple belt, whatever. He feels more confident on the ground. But it's the fight game. You just never know. Remember when GSP, everybody said that GSP couldn't, at least Josh Koscheck said GSP's never going to take me down. What did GSP do? He took him down. How about when Alan Belcher took on Rousimar Paul Harris and actually went to the ground with him and beat him and turned back all of Paul Harris's leg lock attempts? So it can happen. You can beat a fighter at their own game. I wouldn't advise it for Conor. I still would not advise him to go to the ground with Nate. I think he can do it if he plays it smart in the stand-up.
One thing I have to say, Ted, is that he is really good at getting out of that clinch, though. Like he's really good at exiting. If Nate does try to wrap him up, and we saw that, even though I really highly recommend, first off, that everyone goes and rewatches Nate versus Conor 1 before you rewatch this rematch, because you'll be able to see where Conor really went wrong and what was different this time in this fight with Nate compared to Conor's other fights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was just gonna close with and give the floor to you, man. I picked Conor the last time. I was wrong, but I just think he is such a student of the game. He's such a student of the game. I think he went back to the drawing board and just said, you know what, I'm gonna be a sponge. I'm gonna soak up all the knowledge and get my head on straight and formulate a good game plan. Conor's going to win this time. Conor's going to win.
You heard it, guys. You heard it.
Conor's going to win. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be by submission. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Conor only has one win by submission, man. That's not going to happen.
Right. And Nate is so tough to knock out. But I think Conor's going to do it. I think he's going to knock him out.
Well, Ted, Nate has only been stopped twice before.
Right.
That whole time, this is what I want to start my breakdown with, is, Conor McGregor wins that fight with Jose Aldo, 13 seconds. It almost seemed like he had an expectation. He was calling these fights. I'm going to knock him out in the second round. Then he wins against Jose Aldo. He thinks he's unstoppable. And now Nate Diaz steps in there, and Conor feels like he needs to finish that when he told everyone he would. Just like Ronda Rousey had a high expectation of beating people in 30 seconds. That if you went past the first round with Ronda Rousey, or if you went past the time that Conor called on you for your head to be placed on a stick, you're in uncharted territory. So, there's a reason why Conor was a big deal in the UFC coming up to this fight, even though he did lose against Nate Diaz. This is what Conor needs to do to beat Nate Diaz. This is exactly what Conor needs to do. He needs to take it easy in that first round. He needs to circle. He needs to quickly go in with those leg kicks. And we saw in that first fight against Nate, he was just trying to throw that big 1-2 with that big left hand trying to drop him. He saw that cut bleeding. He saw Nate literally bleeding so bad. And at the end of that first round, everyone forgets, man, Conor had Nate on his back and ground and pounding him. Conor had Nate on his back. If they were on the ground for another 20 seconds, Conor could have been in a lot of trouble, definitely. Because Nate could have flipped it over. But in that second round, Conor goes in the corner. Kavanaugh's like, all right, you're fully, you're 100% now. Go back in there. You're fully recharged. And Conor was just tired, but yet Nate's eye was bleeding so bad. Mm-hmm. Conor just doing that 1-2, 1-2. He wasn't throwing any kicks at all. We see Conor throwing so many kicks. Conor is great, but he cannot go in there and box and go toe-to-toe with Nate Diaz. You're not going to win that way. That's not your game plan to win against Nate Diaz because, like you said, he'll just take all those punches. But he's got soft skin, and that's what Conor thought. He thought that he could bust that eye open more and more with that 1-2 shot in the last fight, and he just gassed, man. And even that point of the fight in that second round, right before the fight went out, he had Conor up against the cage. He was going like that. As soon as they exited, Conor got another last 1-2 on him that really busted Nate up. That was all he had left. And that's when Conor just collapsed. And like I said, he was not used to walking around at that weight. I think he came in at 168, Ted. What Nate needs to do...
It's under 170.
Nate definitely has, kind of an upper hand on that ground game for sure, because Joe Rogan even says he's light years ahead of Conor. But Conor McGregor is no stranger to the ground either. He isn't. He's been submitted before on the ground against the Irish Joe Duffy, but he's really good at escaping that. We saw that with Chad Mendes, who is definitely a better wrestler than Nate Diaz is, in my opinion. So I really just see Conor McGregor having a better strategic game plan to slowly break down piece by piece, like we watched him do in those past fights against Brimage, against Max Holloway, against Dennis the Diamond Poirier. That was an impressive fight when he fought Dustin. Dustin is a top contender, without a doubt. Max Holloway, top contender, without a doubt. Then he fought Dennis Seaver. Dennis Seaver took Dennis Seaver. Then Mendes. Then Aldo. We saw this fight with Nate Diaz here. It was not the same Conor that we were used to seeing. He was just trying to knock him out and box with Nate. Bad idea. Conor McGregor walks away with the win in the third round, Ted.
Third round? Okay. Yeah, I definitely I think he should you were kind of touching on this. He should definitely work the body with the spinning back kick and work the body, weaken Nate like he did Mendes.
Exactly like he did Mendes. It will slowly break Nate down because those leg kicks, they have a toll on you and you'll get winded quick. I don't know if you've been kicked before, but it fucking sucks.
I'd have to go back a ways. I'm sure it's happened at some point. So that I think would be the smart thing for him to do. God, I hope that is the game plan.
I mean, Nate is just as tough as Dennis Bermudez is. I mean,
wait. If I could just stop you for 1 second, Eddie. Said show. He wants me to look at his comments. Let's see here. Nate has cardio for days. Absolutely, totally agree with that.
Definitely.
And now he's full camp Nate. He's not 11 days Nate. Full camp. Connor's going to have a hard time hitting him. I agree. That's why I'm saying. Yeah, mix the kicks in with the punches. Don't just go with the punches. I would kind of, do 70-30, 70% kicks, 30% punches.
Yes, 100% agree. I'm so happy you just said that, Ted. 100% agree with you.
But I mean, said show MMA. He's got some good points for sure.
Well, all right. The talk is, Ted, that Conor was also taking the fight on short notice, too. He wasn't ready to go in there at 170 either. Nate, you're saying he didn't have a fight camp, but he and his brother are always ready to fight. They're always in good condition. They were training for a triathlon.
Right. Yep.
Dude, I'm getting pumped up, man. I'm getting so fired up, man. I'm so ready for UFC 202.
Oh, yeah. And the hype is just going to get crazier as we go on. From this presser that happened today.
Can't wait, man. We are watching history, man. I'm going to say it one more time. We are going to be watching history. You need to watch this pay-per-view event. You will not regret it.
Hey, that's a great way to kind of end things because you're going to be in the vineyard. You're going to be in Martha's Vineyard. What are you going to do? Are you going to stop in at a bar and watch it, or how are you going to watch it?
I am going to be. I'm going to bring all my equipment with me. First off, I just want to really address that to all my listeners out there that really look forward to me breaking down the fights, doing the live updates. I am going to be doing that. I have a whole house to myself in Martha's Vineyard. I might even just post up on the beach somewhere and watch the fight because I'll be able to watch it from my computer, Ted. I got the fight ordered and everything already. It's all set up and ready to go.
You got the you got it on your computer. So
I got it all on my computer, so I'm set. But
that's a lot cheaper than the pay-per-view.
What, to have on the computer?
Yeah, used to be
cheaper to get it on your computer because you can rent it right from YouTube. It's like $49.
All right. I was thinking about a couple of years ago. It was only 30.
Really?
I guess they jacked it up.
Yeah, on YouTube, if you just search UFC, it's like $49. You watch it on YouTube. But I have my ways, Ted. I'll talk to you after the show. Anyways.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going back a couple of years, Eddie, when I used to get it just on UFC.tv. You order it straight from UFC. You know, if you didn't want to get it on your television, you wanted to just see it on your computer. And I used to get it for about $30. That was the going rate at that point. I'm going back several years. Before they even set up Fight Pass or they were on YouTube or anything like that.
Yeah, UFC
but anyway.
TV. But yeah, I just want to address to my listeners that I will have all my equipment. I'm going to be doing live updates, but you know what, Ted? There's no way I'm not going to, hit the bar probably at the prelims. I'll be doing the main event, but I definitely want to, check out the Vineyard and the bar to get everyone hyped up and just pop around. So I'm going to be giving live updates for the main card. I'm going to be in Martha's Vineyard. Where are you going to be, Ted?
I'll be here. Well, I'm either going to be. There's a bunch of neighborhood guys that usually get together for the big pay-per-views. I remember.
You were saying this.
It was Connor's. I'm trying to think of which Connor fight it was. Everybody got together.
189.
Not Nate Diaz. Was the one before that.
Jose Aldo 194.
Yeah. It was the Aldo. It was the Aldo fight. Everybody got together in the neighborhood, and somebody had it at their house. So I'm either going to do that, see what everybody's doing, or maybe go to Buffalo Wild Wings, bring my sons. So one or the other.
I just want to say one more thing, Ted. And we mentioned this at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to have to connect both segments because we had that little break in between. But
yeah.
I have that new interview up, everyone. I went around New Haven, Connecticut, asked whether people were Team McGregor or Team Diaz. And that video is down below, so check it out. I met some pretty interesting characters, and we ranked in what the East Coast thinks going to happen come Saturday, man. And I'm definitely excited. So I had a great night with you, Ted. I had a lot of fun tonight, man. Oh,
yeah, me too, Eddie. It's been great. The comments have been great. Everybody's been contributing, and that's awesome because that's really what it's all about here. Without our friends, without the fans, we wouldn't have this show. We wouldn't do this show. That's why we have it. That's why we say it's an MMA fan interactive show. We want to interact. That's what makes it exciting. To just get this, to get everybody in on it and to talk things through, talk things over.
Yeah, man. I don't want my listeners or my MMA family to get you might get sick of me after a while. So you gotta spice it up and. We came up with this idea to do this fun interactive show, and I love it, man. I think we got something special here, something new. You don't see this on other MMA shows. I'm not really a big fan of a lot of MMA shows that are out there. I really just fall asleep during a lot of them. It's just like I'm watching the evening news, it almost seems like. It's not, I don't know. There are some good ones out there, like Flying Brian. I know Eddie Law does a great show. There's definitely a couple good ones out there. But, Ted, me and you got something really special here, man. Something different.
Oh, yeah.
Something fun, interactive. Every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. I had a blast, Ted. You want to give everyone your tags and everything real quick? Just tell them where they can find you, if anyone new listeners out there.
Yeah, just look me up on YouTube. That's where I do most of my work. It's TEDCZECH. And I try to upload as many videos as I can. I keep track of all the major developments in MMA, and then I give you my opinion. I ask for your opinion, and then hopefully we have we talk it through. If anybody makes comments or whatever, even the haters, I love you. Keep throwing the shade on me. I really don't care. So that's me.
And guys, of course, you can find me at Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestling30.com. The new podcast is now up. I also do a breakdown of UFC 202 and all the latest news. And of course, Ted's got his show as well, so definitely check that out. He does like 3-4 minute videos of just quick news updates, straight and to the point. You can comment on his videos. He's always really good about talking with all of his listeners. And that's actually how I got comfortable in front of the camera, Ted. I told you this was your videos, man. You're the one that kind of raised me up in front of my camera to get comfortable.
Dude, get out of here. You are classically trained. You went to school for this. You know. This is great right here.
Well, I've never broken down like live sports and stuff, or like really known how to like talk to a camera. Like I've played live shows before. I've played music, and I just never broken down sports. And I saw your channel, man, and was really inspired by what you do.
I appreciate it, man. But and after seeing that thing, that you did on the streets of New Haven, with your gear and everything, you got the camera and the whole thing.
Dude, I have a whole camera crew.
Yeah, that's like you being a reporter, man. That's like some serious shit right there.
Oh, we had a blast, bro. We had a blast.
Yeah, no, that was top notch.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I worked pretty hard on it. I'm just trying to have fun, man. And we're gonna remember these fights when we're older, and I'm going to be telling my grandchildren about these epic fights, just like my grandfather when I was little was telling me about Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. I'm going to be telling my kids about Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? And I just can't wait. Dude, I'm getting chills right now. I'm so excited for UFC 202. Make sure you guys follow me on right here on YouTube, on iTunes. Search Pure Evil MMA. Follow me on Twitter, evil_echo. I cannot wait for UFC 202. You guys have a great night. You're listening to Evil Intoxicated. Me and Ted are out.